For 153 chapters of the JJK manga, we got constant mentions of a student whom we never even got to see. He was characterized as an idiot, a moody guy, a complete asshole, but most importantly, someone incredibly capable. And in today's video, let's talk about what exactly makes this student who he is. What's up guys, Versus Gambler here, and in today's video, we've got the long-awaited solo Hakari video. This video will act as an analysis of Hakari's character. What exactly makes him non-human according to a monster like Yorame? That's what we'll find out today. If you like Hakari and JJK videos like these, go ahead and subscribe. You get more videos and we'll both be happy. To start this video off, we first have to understand why the hell we never got to see Hakari. In Volume 0, the prequel to JJK, where Yuta is the main character, there took place a war named the Night Parade of 100 Demons. In it, a ton of Jujutsu sorcerers fought against the curses Geto, a special grade curse user, let out. This is actually where some great feats and stories for some characters came about. In this battle, Nanami hit the Black Flash record, something we learn about more later in the main story. Same goes for Toto fighting 20 cursed spirits and a special grade cursed spirit without his curse technique. But the one most important is Hakari's participation. Hakari was actually at this war. We never got to see him in the movie, but he ended up fighting a higher up and beat the shit out of him. Because of this, Hakari was suspended from Jujutsu Tech, and we didn't see him once in the actual story until chapter 153. The significance of this I'll go into in a second, but we first have to analyze the fever. When Hakari meets Yuji for the first time, he tries to sell him a course. He tells him that he'll earn 1,000,000 yen per month for just 1 hour of work per day. But then he says for Yuji to find out what the work in question is, he has to pay Hakari 200,000 yen. To that, Yuji makes it out that that's a scam, and Hakari directly admits that is the case. It all has to do with fever. The person who gets scammed has a fever to change their life, and so they fall for cheap scams like those. The scammer has a fever to change their life as well, and so they go on with these cheap scams. When you get high off a fever, you do rash things, not using your head and going right for what you desire. And Hakari loves this because it exists in everyone around the world. The main way to exchange fever according to Hakari is to gamble, but he claims that life itself is a gamble. He says that he's had a lot of girls break up with him because of his obsession with gambling, but he says that they all have it wrong. Everyone gambles in life, but society ostracizes the loss and ruin that comes from its most extreme forms. For example, you probably woke up today and got straight on your phone, right? That's a gamble fueled by fever, the fever to be entertained. And so you're so high on that you don't even think about the consequences of using your phone right after you wake up. You're gambling the impacts it might have on you later in life. There's not a single person on earth who doesn't gamble. What they hate isn't gambling, it's loss and ruin. For this reason, Hakari loves the fever. The fever fuels gambling, and gambling is life. But also love is control. So Hakari wants to control the entire country's fever. He had already been controlling the fever of the people who knew about the Fight Club, as we see that he deliberately states he writes scripts. The people watching don't actually know, but they're so high on their fever that they'll gamble on the outcome anyways. Hakari wants to do this on a broader scale, crushing all his obstacles, and for that reason, he tries to hire Yuji. Hakari's entire ideology revolves around controlling people's fevers to benefit him, and not caring about the consequences of his own actions because he knows it was a gamble from the beginning. Unlike everyone else, Hakari doesn't fear the loss and ruin that comes from gambling. This is why when we first meet Hakari, he says himself that he hasn't been so hyped about something since having maxed out credit cards? I don't know what the hell is so exciting about credit card debt, but from Hakari's eyes, it's all part of the gamble of life. On the same topic, in chapter 158, Hakari talks with the students about what has happened, and he finds out that Gojo got sealed and Principal Yaga got killed. Then he says he hasn't been so bummed out about something since a cartoon character got hit in the butt with an arrow. The students assume Hakari's been leading a peaceful life, but I disagree. I think Hakari has gone through some crazy stuff, but doesn't care enough about it because that's the life he leads. Again, everything is a gamble, and if he's not scared of loss and ruin, why would he ever care about the consequences of his own actions? And so with this ideology comes Hakari's desire to control everyone else's fever. When Yuji moves him with his own fever, Hakari cuts a deal with him. In exchange for his strength, they'd have to help him build his business. When Megumi reveals he's the head of the Zenin clan, he used it for his advantage. Of course, Maki deletes this asset a day later, but the point is that Hakari was going to use it. Now, moving on to the topic of Hakari and the higher-ups, something I found insanely interesting is his complete alienation from them. Hakari is assumed to be special grade level by the community, but we never even get a grade for him, symbolizing his departure from Jujutsu rules. And we can't even chalk it up to a coincidence or Gege forgetting, because even Higuruma gets a confirmation that he's grade 1 level, but Hakari never gets anything of the sort. But the most clear cut of them all is what exactly the higher-ups have beef with Hakari for: his innate technique. In chapter 155, while Megumi tries to convince Kirara to help them, Kirara says something truly telling. In response to hearing that Tokyo is going crazy right now, Kirara says that they're the ones who left them out in the first place. It's then explained to us that Hakari and Kirara got into an argument with the conservative faction of the higher-ups. Essentially, since Hakari's curse technique is so modernized and complicated, they hate it, and so they always end up losing. But the one thing they have is Gojo, their saving grace. I bring this up because this can possibly show us what Hakari has gone through during his time as a sorcerer. We know the higher-ups are cruel and corrupt. Heck, you guys saw what almost happened to Yuta. Of course, I don't think they would put Hakari out for execution just for a modernized technique, but I do see orders being put in place to get Hakari out of the way. And so what I think this is the alienation of Hakari being shown to us again. And with that yap out of the way, this leads up to Urame's quote when they're fighting Hakari. As Hakari decimates everything around him, slamming Urame through multiple buildings, Urame notes something from this particular fighting style. While modern era sorcerers will hold back their power from destroying what they can so easily destroy just to hold on to their humanity, Hakari doesn't do that. He doesn't have a fear of isolation, and so that's what makes him more than human. This quote can be seen as just an extension of what we already established. In his first ever dialogue with Yuji, he already made it known that he thinks differently from society. What they fear is rather the loss and ruin that comes from gambling rather than the act of gambling itself. But Hakari, on the other hand, doesn't fear any of that. In fact, he embraces it. Everything he does is a gamble because life itself is gambling. His attitude of not caring about what happens stems from that mindset and lets him get worked up. Hakari has already been alienated, ostracized because of his differing beliefs to society. This is why Gege literally made him suspended for the first half of the story, but he doesn't fear it at all because he's the one who put himself there. And that right there is what makes Hakari's mindset monster-like. For reference, let's look at Sakuna's mindset. When he fights Jogo, you can see the weakness in the cursed spirit that doesn't allow him to reach the heights of his potential. When Jogo is asked why he doesn't expand his domain, he says he knows he would lose in the domain clash. But he doesn't actually know that. He assumed he wasn't strong enough due to his fight with Gojo. And so Sukuna called him a loser. When Jogo gets killed and Sukuna talks to him, Sukuna says that what Jogo lacked was the hunger to go for what he desired. He should have went for what he wanted, destroyed all of his obstacles, and done it without worry of the future or of his identity. This mindset is all the more present in Hakari. As I've said for the 1000th time, Hakari does what he wants as a gamble, and the outcome doesn't matter to him because it was what he got himself into in the first place. He has the mindset where identity or the future wouldn't be something of worry for him because he knows what he's doing can compromise them. He beat up a higher up, got suspended, and immediately started a business, taking advantage of the state the Jujutsu world was in and going for what he desired: control. Every student who knows Hakari other than Yuta says he's a dickhead. That isn't the reputation of a guy who cares about what others think about him. This is contrasted by Yuta in JJK 0 when Maki calls him out for acting like a good person. Hakari doesn't care about any of that. He'll do what he wants and get what he wants. Put Hakari in Jogo's place here and I think it's safe to assume that he's going for the gamble and clashing domains with the king of curses himself. But apart from that mindset, there is something else that needs to be discussed. and that's the topic of love. This can be a whole video on its own, but from the core of it, I'm referring to the different ways different characters define love. Sukuna defines love as recognizing the people who want to be recognized. We see this in the fight with Jogo mostly, as at the end of it, he acknowledges his strength, calling him strong and leading Jogo to tears. We assume Yuta's definition of love is to care and protect others, something that goes completely against Sakuna's ideals. Same with Yuji, whose entire ideology is centered around saving others. But Hakari's definition of love is control. To love something is to desire to control it. Hakari loves the fever, and so he wants to control all of Japan's fever. Of course, I wish he had more examples of this, but JJK isn't a finished manga, so we'll just have to wait and see. But because of that reason, we can make predictions for Hakari's future. In his fight with Urame, I think we will see more use of Hakari's proficiency and last minute moves, his gambles. Just like in his fight with Kashimo, most of it was things he did at the last minute. He sneezed Kashimo's cursed energy out of his nose at the last minute. He sacrificed his arm at the last minute. And he expanded his domain while at death's door. But beyond that, if this is the final arc, I expect Hakari to get with the group and be acknowledged by Sukuna for his mindset. It would be nice if he enters the domain clash, like I said earlier, showing the difference in hunger between him and Jogo. While Jogo and all the rest are merely strong, Hakari himself, well, he's a monster.